Before you toss out your old pill bottles, wait. You won't believe the stunning home decor ideas I have for you today. They are cheap, easy, and totally genius.
Hi, I'm Loli, and I'm so glad you are here.
For this project, I'll be using 4 of these large pill bottles. I was so excited when my friends and family got me these. I removed the caps off of them, and we're going to use the bottles for this. We'll put the caps to the side because we'll be using it for a different project. We took each one of these and we are going to clip off that little mechanism that makes them secure so kids don't open them up. I'm just going to clip off that section on each one of these bottles. If you do this, please be careful. They go flying everywhere. Exhibit A. See that? I used some eye protection. I did that with all 4. Now I'm going to position them there onto that piece so they won't roll off. And I'm going to paint them with 2 coats of Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. Here I'm going to take some of my Waverly antique wax. I was not sure exactly how much I wanted to antique wax these pieces, so I started very lightly because I wasn't sure if I wanted to go for a light wood look or a dark wood look. So I started with small amounts of that antique wax and I built it over time. As I went along, I decided that I really, there you go, guys. I have a mishap in every DIY. You see that? I don't know why does the paintbrush fall off. Anyway, after that happened, we're gonna continue to add. I'm sorry, I'm gonna continue to add that paint, just building it up, building it up. At the end, I decided I wanted this to be quite dark. So you will see me here go a lot heavier with that antique wax. And if you notice as well, I am keeping my strokes in the same direction because I am trying to achieve the look of wood. I kept adding more until I ended up with this shade. And I repeated the same process with all 4. But here I want to show you a technique that I did to have this look as if it has little nuts on the wood. You know how you have those little nut pieces those circular nut-like pieces in the wood. I added that by just swirling my paintbrush as you see there. I did it on the first one after the fact, so that one I'm going for a darker color with that, and the other one I went lighter. Once they were all done and dry, I'm taking one of these home signs that I got from Dollar Tree. We are going to dismantle this guy up and use the pieces for it. So I'm going to use each one of those letters for each one of those containers. Full disclosure, if you do this, make sure that you do not paint the section in which you're gluing this. These pop off for me and I was expecting that. I was not sure that I was going to glue these on. In the beginning, I was hoping to do some fabric on it and then glue it. I went with this approach. If you do this, do not paint the section in which you plan on gluing these letters because they will pop up very easily thanks to that paint and that antique wax. So do as I say, not as I did. I learned the hard way. I fixed them after the fact. I'm not going to put you through the whole situation. So I'm showing you here, I'm telling you what I did after the fact. So here I'm just adding a little bit of pool noodles on the bottom at each one of those as I'm adding the glue onto each letter. That is so the bottle stays level and that piece sets properly there with that glue. Once I had all 4 of those letters on there, I'm going to take some jute cord, and you know me and the fuzzies, I can't stand them, so I'm burning it off. And then I'm going to drape them over the top as you see there. This was an afterthought. I was not sure that I was going to add anything else. As I said, my first plan was to add some burlap fabric to this and then the letters. But you know, as you're crafting, your things evolve tremendously. So that's what happened here. So I'm taking the jute cord and I'm wrapping it over as you see there. And one side of it, I'm going to add a bead, one of the beads that came from the same side. And on the other side, I'm going to take a little bit of hot glue, add it to the back of one of those hearts that you see there, comes from a pack at Dollar Tree. I'm going to add that heart to one side. And then I'm going to add hot glue on the top section of that again and sandwich the two hearts together so they will be nice and symmetrical and it will look like one piece. One bit of advice with this, I will say, unravel the section in which you are adding that piece on there so you will have a flatter surface and they will both of the hearts will connect closer together and form one heart a lot easier if you have that jute cord flat on the back. And I did this with every single one of them. One of the beads on one side and a heart on the other. I added a little bit of hot glue on the edges of that medallion looking piece there where the letter is, just so that jute cord will stay in place and that bead will jangle or dangle, will jangle, will dangle on the same or in the right height of this. So I'm just doing that so everything stays in place. And I repeated this process with all four of these pieces. Here I'm showing you exactly what I mean by sandwiching together and then press it and hold it there until that glue sets. And it just gives you a more finished look and it gives more security to this as well. Next, I took some of these greenery that I got from Dollar Tree. I believe they are eucalyptus. And I'm going to remove all the tagging and we're going to cut it into individual pieces and place them inside of the vase. But before we do that, we're going to add the leftover pieces of pool noodle that we had for the previous DIYs into these bottles. So this will form as our floral foam or our filler. So this greenery does not fall to the bottom and doesn't go everywhere. My friends, so this video is part of our collaborations with my friends Jenny from Lovely Moments Creating, Aria from DIY with Aria, and May from Craft Away with May. For our collaboration, we will be creating something with pill bottles, pool noodles, and wood with a summertime flair. The links to their channels and to their playlists will be linked in the description box below and also pinned in the comments. Make sure that you're heading over to the channels and to the playlist and show everyone some love. And that is it for this project. Let me know in the comment section what do you think about this one. For this project, we'll be using 3 of these medicine bottles. I'm going to use some heat to remove the tags from them. I'm just going to heat it up just enough to soften up that glue and rip off the rest of the tag. I did have some glue residue left over, so to remove those, I took some of this glue away from Dollar Tree. I first just tried to spray it onto the bottle, but I find that the easiest way to do it is to just soak up a paper towel with that solution and just let it sit all around the bottle for a couple of minutes, and then it's a lot easier to just remove all of that glue. Then after just a few minutes, I was able to just scrub the rest away. And then I wipe off the solution with a paper towel and came back with a wipe from, I think it's called Routine Clean. Yep, from Dollar Tree. And I just cleaned off all of that oily residue off of the piece. And then I did the same thing with the other two. Then I'm going to remove the covers off of these. We will not be using them for this project, but put them to the side because we can always use them for another. Then I painted all 3 bottles with white Rust-Oleum Linen white chalk paint. Next, I took this piece of wood that I got from Dollar Tree, removing that tag. I'm going to go ahead and sand off all of the edges. Listen, they were very rough, so I sanded off all of 4 sides. Then we're going to remove all of that sand off of my surface because I want it to be nice and clean. This little lady, it is one of my most used items on my craft room. If you're interested in getting one, I will link it in my Amazon store. Then we're going to stain this using some Waverly Antique Wax. I'm going to apply using a paintbrush, and I'm going pretty heavy with it. I'm making sure to get all of the edges of my board as well. I am avoiding the middle section because I have other plans for that, but I'm just adding some on the sides on each side here because those sides will be exposed. Then I'm going to take a wipe and remove all of the excess antique wax off of the board because I wanted it to be more rustic than that heavy brown. Now we are taking a pool noodle and I'm going to slice it down the middle using my pool noodle knife from Dollar Tree. I'm using 1.5 for this piece, but they were a little bit too long. So I'm going to trim off one of the edges of the pool noodle because I want that wood on the edges to be a bit more exposed. So using the same knife, you're going to cut off a piece just so we have this nice and center with some of that wood showing on the sides. And we are going to glue this down using some hot glue onto the surface of that wood. I'm going to press it down firmly to make sure that that is properly adhered. Then I'm going to take the same pill bottles that I got ready earlier and I'm going to put one right in the center of the pool noodle and roll it back and forth as you see there. So I have that indentation of the bottom of the bottle. And then using my pool noodle knife, I'm going to carve out that silhouette or that image off of it to create a hole. So my pill bottle will be sitting into it. So I'm just going to carve off the top section of the noodle as you see there. Once I remove that section over there, I'm going to come back in with my X-Acto knife to remove the section that stays there on the corner. My bottle was not fitting properly this way, so I did need to carve out that bottom section of the noodle so my pill bottle will fit nice and flush onto that hole. And I repeated this process with the two other bottles, putting them on each side of these two, making sure that they're the equal distance from each other. Then I took these candles that I got from my local thrift shop. I got 4 of them for $1, but one of them was not working and they were filthy. So I took that same paper towel that I had with goop off and I was able to clean them pretty nicely. Then we are going to add all 3 of these to our pill bottles. But as you see there, they could not fit properly, so you're going to come in with some more pool noodles. Look how perfect it goes into the hole of the pool noodle. So I am going to cut off 3 of these pieces of pool noodle at about 2 to 3 inches in width. Next, I'm going to take the same pieces and I'm going to slice them on all 4 sides. I'm going to turn them into a square, but being very careful not to cut that hole. I want that hole to be intact. And then I thought here will be enough for me to just do 3 of those. I got the other 2 the same way. And I said, you know what, let's put it in here. It should be perfect. Look at the hole was all squished up once I put it in there. And it just, let's just say it wasn't the best. I wasn't thinking that this was exactly this was not what I was thinking of, is what I'm trying to say. So I decided to take off some of the sides. The knife here was pretty much trying to cut open that hole, which I did not want. So I'm just carving with my fingernails pieces on the corners, as you see there, rounding off those edges so it will fit nice and perfect into that bottle. And I repeated it with all 3. Now we're going to position our candle holders in, and look at that, guys. Great hack. It's going to just sit there nice and simple, and whenever you're ready to turn them off and on, all you have to do is pull them out and turn them off and on. And they're sitting nice and erect. Now comes the fun part, embellishing this. I'm going to take a variety of different greenery and flowers from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to position them all over our pool noodle. We are using the pool noodle as our floral foam. This is a nice, inexpensive way for us to have floral foam, and it's pretty much versatile. You can use it for so many things. You can use it, as you see there, to stand up your candles, or you can use it as floral foam. You can use it as a filler. Well, you'll see later on in the video many other uses I have for this. So here you see how I position my greenery, no rhyme or reason, just seeing how everything is nice and balanced and something that made my heart and my eyes happy. That is all I was going for. So these projects are to be inspiring you to create your own. So in this sense, you do what is best for you. and what works for you and what makes you happy, because that's what crafting is for, at least for me. Crafting is relaxation and just a moment of peace, of just being immersed in my crafting. And I don't know, it's just so relaxing. So go ahead, and if you do this, go ahead and do whatever feels good. As you see there, I did the same thing on one side and the other using this other greenery that I got from Dollar Tree. I think this was called, I think it was rosemary. I might be wrong. I just feel like lately every greenery is just called greenery at Dollar Tree. So let's just call it greenery. Anyway, then I took some of these white flowers and I cut them pretty short, because if you notice here, that pool noodle surface is pretty short, so you don't need your stems to be too long. So I'm cutting them at that level, bringing up the leaves that come at the bottom, and then sticking them in different positions in which I have exposed photo foam. And what I do to one side, I do to the other, and I do that with both sides as well. Just standing them up on there, just trying to make it look nice and wispy. That's what it looked what I was going for. And I wanted it to be full and for it to just scream summer and dinner parties and all those kinds of fun things. I continued to add different types of greenery. I ended up coming in after I put the white ones on. I came back in using some eucalyptus. I think it's eucalyptus. Yes, eucalyptus, I believe, from Walmart here and there as well. I added some yellow flowers that I had left over from another project that also came from Dollar Tree. I also added some floral moss in different areas where you can still see that pool noodle, but I needed a little bit more. So I added these other flowers that I also have leftovers from Dollar Tree here and there to give another pop-up color and to bring out that yellow on the candles. And now, just like that, this project is done. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think about this one? For this project, I'll be using this pill bottle and two of those wooden rounds that I got from Walmart. To remove the sticker off of the pill bottle, I'm just going to add some heat to it and then go ahead and lift it up. This just makes the adhesive loosen up and it makes it a lot easier to remove the tag. And to get the rest off, I'm going to use some goof off that I got from Dollar Tree. And then cleaned off the bottle using some multi-purpose cleaner. Then I'm going to take two of these rounds and we are going to adhere one at the bottom and one at the top of the pill bottle. And to adhere it, I'm going to use some Tide Bond Quick and Thick. I made sure to be quite generous, especially in the bottom section, because it did have a little bit of a dip there, the bottom of the pill bottle, and I want to make sure that it has a nice adhesion. And I made sure that it was centered and I remove any excess glue that seeped off the edges. Repeating the same process with the top as well. I find that this glue is quite forgiving. You have a lot of time to be able to make sure that everything is nicely centered. And then I just left it sit overnight. Then I took the entire structure and painted it with 3 coats of Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. However, I wanted to bring in some color, so I took some of this moss from Waverly and I'm going to cover the entire top section, just this one wood round here. My paint was pretty thick, so you're going to see me here spray water onto the wood round here and there. That's just so I'm able to apply the paint much easier. I noticed that these paints tend to thicken up the older they get, just like me. I let it sit aside to dry, and now we are going to embellish this a little further. I'm going to take these rub-on transfers that I got from Dollar Tree. I have used them before, so I had them already cut off, and we're going to add them all in that column section. But first, I'm going to seal the paint in with some Mod Podge. Once the Mod Podge was nice and dry, now we are going to add the rub-on transfers over this. Just a word of caution, just don't be too rough resin? No, I'm burnishing down the rub and transfer, because in some areas in which I was very vigorous with it, the Mod Podge wanted to lift up with the rub and transfer. So just be as gentle as possible as you can. So I'm adding 3 of those long pieces on the top section all around. And then I'm going to add smaller ones coming down in these open sections. And this is what it looked like. And we are done. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think about this piece? I love it. For this project, we'll be using one of these ibuprofen bottles. I removed the sticker. I removed the cover, and I'm going to take some jute cord. I'm going to burn off the fuzzies of my jute cord, add a little bit of hot glue at the bottom of the pill bottle, wind the end of the jute cord just a bit, and then start wrapping it. As I'm going along, I'm adding a little bit of hot glue next to the jute cord, which is a little, not so much that it will seep through on the edges. And I continue to do this process until the entire bottom of the pill bottle was covered, and then I started going up the sides as well. I continued to add hot glue as I was winding the jute cord until I went over that lip. And then here that the bottle is pretty much the same width, I'm just wrapping the jute cord close to each other, as you see there, making sure that there's no gaps in between. Here I'm not adding any glue. I'm just using the pressure from the jute cord to keep everything in place. And I continue to do this process until I got pretty much to the section of the pill bottle that started to be tapered. Once I got to the tapered edge, I added hot glue every time I added jute cord. Here it is easy for the jute cord to slip away, so this is why I'm doing this, and I'm making sure to add the minimal amount of hot glue so I don't have that seep through the jute cord, and I don't have that hot glue stains all around my jute cord. I want this to be nice and neat. And I continue to do the same process until it was covered all the way up, including the threads where the cap would have been. Once I got to the top section here, I am wrapping it in the inside of the bottle a little bit as well. I'm gluing it onto the jute cord that I added before and onto the wall of that medicine bottle as well, just so I'm able to cover up all of the white section on the opening. And once I had it wind up exactly as I wanted it, I'm just going to go ahead and cut off the excess jute cord on an angle and go ahead and glue down that piece as well. Then I took the entire piece and I'm just going to burn off the fuzzies off of the entire thing. And I love how this gives it a nice charted look. I do like this agent that the fire does to the jute cord as well. I'm just going to go ahead and rub off any excess little pieces that are just laying there charredness. And then I'm going to take some jute cord. I'm going to take 3 pieces of jute cord. I took one and folded it in half, as you see there. Cut that section, and then I cut another piece that's the same length as this one, creating 3 strands. Then I took those 3 strands and I taped them down to my table. Now I'm going to begin braiding this. I'm just going to braid it as I would with hair, just being very careful to keep my braid nice and flat against that table. And I just kept bringing it in, bringing the outer one in each side at a time. Kept doing that until I got all the way to the bottom. Then I took a small piece of jute cord and I'm going to use it to tie here at the bottom. But I'm going to glue it on. I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue onto that edge of the braid. Then add the jute cord to that little end and wrap it around and glue it again on the same side here at the bottom. And I did this for this bottom section, and I also did it for the top. And trimmed off the excess off the bottom. And this is what it was looking like. and just making sure that it's not stiff because I will be putting this around my pill bottle. I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue on the neck of the pill bottle, glue the middle section onto it, again making sure that I don't have any hot glue seeping through to the edges. I just wrapped it all the way around and then cut off the excess, making sure that I had enough to completely butt up against the other side. And then I glued that down so it will be a nice seamless transition. And then I burned out the fuzzes one more time. To further embellish this piece, I took one of these wood hearts that I got from Dollar Tree. It comes in a pack of many of them. And I'm going to glue it right here at the center of my little jar. Look how adorable that looks. I added some of these florals from Dollar Tree to the jar. Look how cute this turned out. Let me know what you think about this one. For this project, I'm using the leftover bottle caps from a previous project, and I'm going to spray paint them using this Krylon hammered metal spray paint. I gave it a total of 3 coats. Once everything dried, I'm taking 4 of these votive candles from the Dollar Tree and position them right into the bottle caps. And now these have turned into some votive candle holders. Let me know in the comment section what do you think about this project.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's episode, here are a couple more videos you are sure to enjoy. Thank you so much for stopping by. You're amazing. Bye.